started. Thank you so much for joining the session today. My name is Julie Lanford, and it was supposed to be a webinar a month ago, but I wasn't quite ready, so we put it off to this month. Yeah, our topic today is mindful eating basics. What I want to do is to kind of cover what that actually means, and then to also offer you some tools going forward from today that you can participate in to help you on your journey towards essentially what I would call a healthy relationship with food. So my name's Julie Lanford. I am a registered dietitian and a board certified specialist in oncology nutrition. I'm the community engagement director at Cancer Services, and we are a local nonprofit in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm the creator and author of cancerdietitian.com. So I have several recorded webinars on my website, cancerdietitian.com, and this one will be posted there in hopefully not too many days as well. And everything we offer at Cancer Services is free of charge, thanks to generous donors in our community and grants and foundations. So all of my content's available to you for free. I have email-based programs, webinars, a podcast, all of those things that help to make sure that people have access to evidence-based nutrition information, especially in cancer survivorship. So this is me. I kind of already told you all about it. That's me with shorter hair. I tend to do the short hair, long hair thing. So if you watch any of my previous webinars, you'll see me in a variety of hairstyles. But I did develop cancerdietitian.com in 2007 with the inspiration of a cancer survivor friend of mine. And I was able to continue just writing articles regularly, which you can read going all the way back. You can go all the way back to 2007. A lot of the content is still accurate, though, some things have changed with time, but I did do my bachelor's in science in biology from NC State University, and I have my master's in public health from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I do love working for a community-based nonprofit where I can help people with their nutrition and education and not have to worry about if they can pay for it or file insurance or those types of things. So I am a community dietitian, but my specialty and focus is around cancer. I do have a family, and I updated my bio recently because my children get older every year. And it turns out I also grow my fuzzy family. And so I've now added 2 guinea pigs to my household. And I am an animal person. All right, so today's topics, when we talk about mindful eating basics, we are going to cover what exactly is mindful eating and what is it not, because I find a lot of people mistakenly understand what they think it means for what it is actually not. We are going to talk about benefits of mindful eating. We'll talk some about how cancer treatment impacts your hunger cues, which is a very important piece of eating mindfully, and then how you can find peace with food. So, what is mindfulness itself? Well, mindfulness is an intentional focus on someone's thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations in the present moment. Mindfulness targets becoming more aware of rather than reacting to one's situations and choices. I feel like more recently there's a lot of talk about your nervous system and regulating your nervous system and being attentive to what's going on in your body, because a lot of times we aren't even paying attention to what's going on. Do we know what our emotions are? Do we know what our thoughts are? Can we notice when we're hungry or when we're full? And so sometimes we've been too busy to notice that, or sometimes we have conditions that make it difficult for us to figure out what those things are. And so mindfulness is essentially the practice of getting more in tune with understanding what your body is telling your brain. And so mindful eating is a piece of mindfulness. I always say you can eat anything mindfully, right? It doesn't have anything to do with what you eat. It has everything to do with how you eat and how you approach eating. So mindful eating is using all of your physical and emotional senses to experience and enjoy the food choices you make. So again, you can mindfully eat anything. It's about paying attention to The senses, the taste buds, the textures of what you're eating. And it could be something like when they do mindfulness classes, I don't know, they always use a raisin. I don't know if it's because raisins are cheap or because raisins are wrinkly. So there's a sense right there, right? But raisins tend to be the thing that you really explore in your mouth and understand, and pay attention to your sensory system. So mindful eating is finding gratitude for whatever it is the food that you're eating. It is choosing foods that are satisfying and nourishing to your body and becoming more aware of your eating habits. Mindful eating is not judging eating choices or behaviors. So, following any particular diet or healthy eating plan is not mindful eating because you are following a list of what's allowed as opposed to paying attention to what your body says it needs. Distracted eating is also not mindful eating, because if you're distracted, you're not paying attention to what your body is feeling. And mindful eating is not a weight loss strategy. Mindful eating is your approach to food and eating. And I very much feel like that is far more important than anyone's particular weight. So, what are the benefits of mindful eating? Well, essentially, you're slowing down, and there's a lot of benefits to slowing down. You have better digestion because when you take the time to actually chew your food all the way and pause between bites, it does help your body break down food more easily. You're not having too much at a time. We say, inhaling your food because you're so starving that you're just trying to get it in there. Chewing it all the way. I tell my children, chew it until it's mush and then swallow. So that's helps with your digestive system because part of what happens in the mouth is actually starting digestive processes. You have digestive enzymes in your saliva. So the more you chew and make sure that that food gets started digesting before you swallow and eat slowly, it does help your digestive process. It improves your nutrient absorption because the more you chew, the more efficiently your body can extract and absorb important nutrients that gets you the most out of your meals. And the way our bodies naturally work is that everything you eat has to be broken down essentially into individual nutrients and components that are absorbed into our blood and into our bodies. So if we don't chew it enough and it goes into our intestines and it's not broken down, either your body has to use a lot of different enzymes and acid and all these different things to break the food down, or the food does not get broken down and absorbed and it just passes right through. So some people have irritable bowel syndrome and they experience this, or if you have any toddlers or babies, sometimes they eat foods and they're not chewing them and they come out whole. So what we want is to help our bodies get the most nutrition out of the food that we eat, chew it up, and that helps with the digestive process and improves your nutrient absorption. It also helps you recognize fullness. So your stomach takes about 20 minutes to tell your brain it's full. So if you think about that, if you eat all your food in 5 minutes, you will probably still physically feel hungry because that feedback hasn't gotten to your brain yet that you've eaten enough to feel full. So slowing down helps you recognize those signals and avoids that eating past comfort, where you're so hungry and you're eating so fast and you're inhaling all your food and you get full, but your brain doesn't know it yet. So you're still inhaling. And then but 20 minutes later, you're like, oh, wow, I really did eat a little bit too much there. And that's an uncomfortable feeling, but we don't have to judge that. We can just use that experience as information to inform us next time. And then enjoying the experience. So if you slow down, you actually enjoy your food more. You actually get to taste it because if your meal disappears in minutes, you can't really enjoy it. It's just gone. So those are the benefits of really slowing down while you're eating and paying more attention. And so clearly slowing down is one piece, but there's other ways that you can practice mindful eating. One is to just simply connect with your food. So being grateful for all aspects of where your food is coming from and what it's made of. And I often encourage people to think about the process from the start to the end. I mean, if it's a vegetable, it had to be planted in the ground. Somebody, Mother Nature, somebody had to water it. Somebody had to make sure that there were no weeds growing and crowding it out. Somebody had to make sure that the soil was good. Someone had to pick that food and then wash it, and then someone had to transport it. So think about truck drivers, or if it's transporting across the world, it might be on ships. And then beyond that, it has to be transported to your grocery store or, wherever else. So really thinking through that whole process. And I think being amazed that we have access to so many different types of foods. I would say, are a little bit spoiled. So I think it's relatively easy to also, part of your mindfulness practice would be a gratitude practice. You can be grateful for every single step of all the things that happen, regardless of what type of food it is. So really connecting with your food, where it's coming from, and what it's made of and how it tastes and all of those things. Slowing down. So that's what we've already talked about, giving your body time to connect with your mind so that it can recognize when that feedback is coming, that you've had enough, or that maybe you don't like something. That usually happens pretty fast. You find out you don't like it, because that happens right in your mouth for the taste buds. And you need to spend some time getting to know your own personal hunger and fullness cues. Um, there's some types of hunger that are obvious, and that's when your stomach is really hungry or growling. But certainly, irritability is a sign for many of us. Hangry, that's a sign of being hungry. And sometimes, you may not recognize those cues are there until you really start paying attention. So that's part of mindful eating, is starting to understand your own personal hunger and fullness cues. Like, are you getting distracted easily when it gets towards mealtime? And so those things, you often may need to keep a journal, or ask yourself, okay, what was going on 10 minutes before I realized I was hungry. I also want to mention that cancer treatment can obviously have some major impacts on hunger cues. And so that's an extra challenge that my cancer clients and cancer survivor clients have when it comes to recognizing hunger cues. And that is because, obviously treatment affects your body in lots of different ways. It can disrupt your hunger and your fullness cues. A lot of people during treatment do not feel hungry. They feel full all the time. Sometimes we give people appetite stimulants. They can be constipated, which will affect your appetite. They can be dehydrated, which will cause issues. So, um, either increased appetite or decreased appetite can be affected by cancer treatment. A lot of people are given steroids or pre-meds that can really make them very hungry. Um, you have shifts in food preferences. Some things that you loved before do not taste right, right? And that might last for a long time. It might just be a phase of treatment. You may have irregular eating patterns. Certain weeks you feel good, you eat well. Other weeks, all you can do is milkshakes. Um, and then difficulty recognizing when you're hungry or full, or maybe the traditional signs of being hungry or full. So those physical changes on top of the emotional stress of a cancer diagnosis makes it very difficult. You feel even more distant from understanding what's going on in your body. So even after treatment ends, that's like reestablishing this relationship with your body that's different now. And your hunger cues might be different. So I think that those are really important things to recognize. And sometimes it may involve working through these things with a therapist who can really help you explore, what are the emotions going on? Like, what am I feeling at this time? What are my hunger cues if they're not the standard traditional ones? Did my appetite go down or up? And how can I kind of reestablish that relationship with my body and to work on trust? So another piece of mindful eating is not distracted eating, right? So that means single tasking. When you're eating, just eat, which is really hard for American culture. We are very busy. I, myself included, I often eat while I'm at my desk. And some people have a really good habit of just like taking a break. Even if you're eating at your desk, it doesn't mean you have to be working. Can you eat with other people? That can help kind of slow things down. But when you're eating, you're slowing down your chewing, you're tasting every bite, and you're not being distracted by TV or phones or computers. Um, Being with other people makes complete sense. That I don't count that as like multitasking while you're eating. If those other people are stressful to you, that might not be the best way to mindfully eat. But for the most part, what we're really looking at is enjoying the meal itself, including your company, tasting the food and taking it slow. So an action step on that would be using the hunger and fullness scale. So this could be you keep notes in your notes app on your phone. You could just write it down in a journal. Um, I I will work on finding one that I can link on the webpage when I put the recording up. Because what you want to do is that before and after you eat, you want to kind of rank your hunger and fullness. So you assess where you fall on the scale of 0 to 10 in terms of how hungry or full you are. 0 to 2 is extremely hungry, lightheaded, weak. You know what that's like. Stomach is growling, eating itself. You are like, single track mind, get me some food, and ideally food that's going to fill you up quick, right? So that's going to be usually simple sugars and fats that tend to fill you up really quick. 3 to 4 is a physical feeling of hunger, like your stomach's growling a little bit, you feel empty, you're definitely not full. 5 to 6 is comfortable. It's kind of like nothing, like you're not full, you're not hungry, you're just fine. 7 to 8 is feeling full, like you finished a meal, but comfortably full. And then 9 to 10 is uncomfortably full, which is completely normal for things like Thanksgiving, you know, Christmas or special occasions, birthdays, going out to the family reunion, whatever. It is fine to be 9 to 10 sometimes, although, most of us don't like to be uncomfortably full. So 9 might be the most that you're really going for when it comes to Thanksgiving and giving yourself that, like, oh, I really want to have that last dish that I hadn't tried yet. So the goals would be to try to eat when you're feeling like you're at a 3 or a 4, not waiting until you're a 0 or a 2, because that's very difficult on your body, your energy levels, and making positive choices around what foods you're eating. And then assess whether you should stop eating around a feeling of 5 or 6. And while it is important to prioritize nutrient dense options like fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and I spend a lot of time talking about this. So for those of you who've watched several of my webinars, you know that I talk about that a lot. And you can go back and watch my other webinars to learn more specifics around what are the foods that are recommended for cancer survivors. But I always also talk about that there's no foods you have to completely eliminate. So, especially if it's foods you love, even if they're on a list of like, well, these aren't the healthiest for you, it doesn't mean that you have to completely eliminate them. You just want to find a good balance, and paying attention to your body's cues will help you find that balance. Like I always say, I'm not going to make a rule for you for how much ice cream you can have, or how much dessert you can have, or how much sodas you should have, or whatever. I often leave it up to my clients to kind of pay more attention to what their body needs. And I think when you start doing that, your body's wisdom comes out and reminds you that you love fruits and vegetables. And that is when you can have these other foods that you love that might not be the most nutrient dense options. You can have them when you want them. It sort of takes away that sense that uh, you can't have it and therefore you feel guilty around it. So I do want people to find a good balance of when to allow themselves these treats. And usually that's if you really feel like having it. And then you're eating it mindfully, tasting it, chewing it. And you don't have to set hard rules for yourself, like how much you're allowed to have. Well, you're going to have as much as you feel like you need. And paying attention to what your body is sensing. As Americans, we're pretty good at the all or nothing mindset, but I think across the board, an all or nothing is not a mindful mindset. So it's easy to fall into the trap of cutting out certain foods completely. I've seen a lot of, sugar detox, or the keto diet, where you completely cut out carbohydrates, or, in the 90s, it was the low fat or vegan. Let me just cut out all animal products. It's really not necessary to fall into those types of eating patterns where you're, completely eliminating certain foods. Um, because it's not a single meal or an indulgence, or, a food item that really overall affects your health. It's the pattern of your lifestyle. So, what you eat consistently, what I say is, if you do something 3 times a week or more, it's a habit. So, you want to make a habit out of eating those nutrient dense foods, and a habit out of being physically active, a habit out of, sleeping well and brushing your teeth, all those things. That overall lifestyle is what matters, not any one individual food or nutrient that you do or don't eat. But many people do struggle with labeling certain foods as good or bad, or clean or dirty, as if the food itself determines somebody's goodness or cleanliness. So that type of mindset, which is an all or nothing mindset, that a food's, it's a good food or a bad food, um, that can lead to a feeling of guilt when eating bad foods. And we've all heard people say it, oh, I'm going to be bad, or I was bad. There's nothing you eat that can make you bad. And there's no dirty foods unless there's literally dirt on it. Um, so, and yeah, some people will then feel this sense of, oh, they get pride when they eat, quote, good foods. People are always telling me, oh, you'd be so proud of me. I ate a salad. I'm like, that's great. I like salads sometimes, but sometimes salads are not going to fill me up. You know, well, what kind of salad was this? So it's the food itself, like a salad. It could be good, it could be bad. Either way, it's the food itself is not good or bad. Is that what your body needed at that time? Um, so when we make these rules, or these, labeling of foods, it does make it harder to maintain a balanced and peaceful relationship with food, which again is one of my priorities for people. I think your relationship with food is more important than what you actually eat. So there's a term that we use called flexible nourishment. And that means, rather than these rules and all or nothing thinking, I've got the road signs going on today, all or nothing, you can have some flexibility. And so I really want to give you all the freedom to fit in all types of foods. All foods fit. Okay. So the flexible nourishment that we're going for is focusing on what your body needs rather than what you shouldn't eat. So I find a lot of people, they keep lists of what they're not allowed to have, what things are, quote, bad. And that's a very negative mindset. It's not fun. Like, that's not a fun way to live. Hey, let's talk about what your body needs. And so if you watch or listen to any of my other webinars about what to eat, which was one I did in the spring, or plant-based eating for cancer survivors, that really highlights what are the things that we know are nutritious, but also you tune into your body, and what it says when you think about what you want to eat. And if you're craving something, that may be what your body needs. So I really would encourage you to think about, oh, all of us need fruits and vegetables and whole grains and beans and nuts and seeds. And so finding ways to get more of those in your day, see how you feel, while still allowing yourself the flexibility to have some of those indulgences. Build your meals around nutrient rich food while leaving room for foods that you enjoy. So making sure that when you have a meal, you have a complete meal, which means you have a starch, a protein, a fruit, and or a vegetable. And for more on that, I think I have a snacks webinar where I talk about all the different types of food groups and how you could put snacks together to make a meal. But essentially, those 4 pieces, I think fruit, vegetable, starch, protein, are easy ways to think about, okay, build your meals around those foods. And then if you have, a dessert, or, a little treat, that fits perfectly alongside your nutrient rich meal. You want to mix and match nutrients for longer lasting energy. So remembering that calories are a unit of energy. So I want you to start thinking about calories in a positive light. Most of our culture talks about, oh, limit calories, cut back on calories, have low calorie snacks. But when you think about the fact that calories are simply energy, we don't want low energy snacks. We don't want a low energy diet. We want a diet that's going to give us the energy to function and live the way we want to. So we want the right amount of energy. So mixing and matching your nutrients does give you longer lasting energy. You want to combine protein, healthy fats, and fiber to keep you fuller longer. Carbohydrates are your source of fiber. So when you get complex carbohydrates or whole grains and starchy vegetables, fruits, those help to give your body good energy from the carbohydrates, the glucose from the carbohydrates, but also the fiber that helps with your gut health and a lot of other nutrition. Healthy fats and protein tend to keep food in your stomach a little bit longer. And that means that you'll feel fuller, like it lasts longer, which is nice because then it's slowly releasing energy or calories into your blood so that you have that energy for a longer period of time. You've probably experienced when you had a meal that was not large enough, or perhaps a meal that didn't have enough mixing and matching of different nutrients, and you end up really hungry, an hour later. I had an email recently from somebody who said that they're a participant in their program was doing smoothies, but they were hungry, like really hungry an hour later, and trying to figure out what the problem was. And my suggestion was, it sounded to me, based on what they were putting in their smoothie, that they were very much limiting the fats that were in their smoothie. And I encouraged them to think about a way they could include healthy fats into that smoothie so that it would help last longer. Leave room for treats. So give yourself, I know this is going to sound crazy, but give yourself unconditional permission to enjoy your treats mindfully. So I encourage people to have special treats that you will, of course, allow yourself to have when you want it. And it could be that it's going out to, get ice cream or whatever it is. Or maybe you have your favorite treats that you just, little versions of things, the Dove dark chocolates, or if you have a Trader Joe's in your area, they have so many amazing little treats. But reminding yourself that they're not restricted, but that you want to enjoy them mindfully, which means that you eat them really, really slow, right? And then you taste them, and maybe you assess your feeling of hunger or fullness or craving or whatever. And if you find that you are eating a lot of them and you're just not feeling like it's satiating you or filling you up, I would say that might be your body telling you that it's actually hungry and it needs more nutrient dense food. And so it doesn't have anything to do with that, what you ate was bad. It wasn't bad. It's just perhaps along with your chocolate or whatever it is, it would be chocolate for me. Your body also needs some fruit or some, toast with something on it that would maybe give you a little bit of fiber, a little bit. Let's say you had toast with peanut butter on it, that would give you some healthy fats. Um, I have done, and I think it's delicious. I just invented it somehow, but I'll have a piece of bread with peanut butter and I'll put the little mini chocolate chips and sunflower seeds because I like a crunch. And then you fold it up. And to me, that was a good, healthy snack that gave me the energy I needed. Like I needed something to eat, but it had chocolate chips. So it gave me that sweet taste that I wanted, the chocolate taste. It was crunchy because I had chocolate chips and the sunflower seeds. And it was delicious. So I think that you can learn a lot from allowing yourself this permission to enjoy treats, because you start figuring out, oh, you know what? I'm craving these treats and it just took one, and that's a true craving, versus I want to have these treats and I can't stop myself from eating them, which would tell me that there's an emotional thing going on that you're feeding, or that you are actually physically hungry and you need to do one of these mix and match nutrients and meet that need. So, listening to your body because it knows what it needs, it's just that we need to learn how to interpret those signs. Practice kindness and grace. Eating is a lifelong journey. You're not passing or failing. You're just experiencing it and learning from it. So be kind to yourself and remember that food is meant to be enjoyed. Even if you do, you overeat something that you wish you hadn't, you're learning from that. You're putting down on your fullness journal that, hey, I was full to a 9. I had too much. What happened there? Did you eat too fast? Did you wait too long till you started eating? All those things, that's how you figure out where you find that balance with your body. So, here, of course, is what I would treat myself with because I love some chocolate. I don't understand people who don't like chocolate, but I know they're out there and there's nothing wrong with that. I won't judge. So, speaking of judging, what is a non judgmental relationship with food? Having a non-judgmental relationship with food means removing the guilt, the shame, the rules from eating, which can be very difficult if you've spent decades of your life living under guilt, shame, and rules around eating. And I would tell you that when you recognize those things, working with a good therapist who is used to working with disordered eating can go a long way to help sort of free you from what feels like the confines of that emotional relationship with food. So, seeing food as nourishment, as enjoyment, rather than something that you need to control or be afraid of or moralize as good or bad. Eating is eating. And I would say eating something is better than eating nothing because nourishing your body is very important even if it's not the most nutrient dense food, your body needs that nourishment in order for your brain and all the cells of your body to function well. So, respecting your body is a key piece also of mindful eating because it's difficult to eat mindfully and respond to your body's needs if you don't have respect for what your body does for you. So, it doesn't mean that you have to love every aspect of your body all the time. Nobody does. We all have things that we're like, yeah, oh, I don't really like that, or I got that from this side of my family, or that side of my family, or who knows where it came from. Why do I have that? Um, you don't have to love every aspect, but you do want to acknowledge what your body has endured and continues to do for you. I mean, I think it's amazing what our bodies can do, especially if you went through a really difficult treatment regimen. Your body hung on and it tolerated that. If you had surgery and something was removed and your body had to learn how to function without that, I think acknowledging what your body does for you is really important and can help you have a positive relationship, which again is something a great therapist can help with. I always say, there's things I help people figure out what food helps to nourish their body and talks about, a positive relationship with food. Um, Therapists are really great to help when that emotional piece is kind of getting in the way or stopping you from moving forward. So, practicing body respect in your daily life, reframe the way you think. Instead of focusing on what you've lost or the things you've changed, try to focus on the things that you continue to be grateful for. So, there's that gratitude practice again. Stop comparing yourself to a previous version of you. Your body has served you in so many different ways throughout your life. I'm somebody who has children, for those of us who've grown a human, our bodies are never the same. If you've gone through surgery, your body is never the same. Just, existing and living and aging in itself is a lot of changes for your body to go through. And it's pretty amazing what our bodies can help us with and how they function despite everything that they have to go through. So instead of looking backwards at the past and trying to, who knows, get back to where you were, which is not reality, honor what your body needs now, where you are now. And you can use affirmative statements or mantras, some people will say. You can have certain statements that if you catch yourself talking about, oh, I need a low calorie this, or I had too many calories, or whatever, I would encourage you to reframe, stop saying that to yourself and think, my body deserves to be fed. My body deserves energy. My body deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. My body deserves to be dressed comfortably in clothes that make me feel good. And my body has and continues to fight for me. even if you're on treatment currently, your body is really tolerating that treatment so it can target the tumor. Well, the rest of your body has to go on and live. And so everything about your body is helping to keep the rest of your cells as healthy as possible. Um, and that's something to celebrate. So dress in a way that makes you feel comfortable. I think we're getting better at this. I really do. I think COVID, being in the pandemic and having to be at home so much, we were all like, why are we wearing these uncomfortable clothes? I had someone in the office yesterday and I was wearing jeans and like a zip up polo or something like that. And they're like, oh, you're not dressed for work. And I'm like, what? This is my work outfit. It's branded Cancer Services and jeans. And it's because she hadn't seen me in a while. And I was here in the office just doing regular work. And so the idea that, what, wear what feels comfortable. We don't have to dress for anybody else or dress for the past, right? Or to show off. Find what feels comfortable to you and wear it. And then replace the negative with the positive. So when your critical thoughts arise, challenge it. So, like the example of, oh, I need something low calorie, or oh, I was bad last night. No, we're going to rephrase that, right? So rather than the negative comment, let's say, okay, our mantra either, I appreciate my body for getting me through today, or my body deserves to be fed, or I had whatever it was you had last night. Like, we in my family, Wednesdays are Chick-fil-A night. And sometimes I get a salad and sometimes I get a fried chicken sandwich and fries. And it doesn't really matter, but if I'm going to think about it, oh, that was a really delicious chicken sandwich I had last night. We don't need to say, oh, I was bad last night, so I better be good today. It's just eat what sounds good, what feels good, what you think your body needs. And that way you're not carrying around that guilt and those negative emotions, and we can start living in a more positive experience. So essentially, this kind of boils it down that mindful eating replaces self criticism with self nurturing. It replaces shame with respect for your own inner wisdom. And it offers, I would say, a lot of curiosity to help you figure out what is going to make you feel at your best with the various food choices and ways to move your body so that you can, survive and thrive after a cancer diagnosis, even if you're in treatment, beyond treatment. You want to make the best of the days that you've got. So here's a couple of ways that you can learn more. These are my suggestions for learning more about mindful eating. Intuitive eating is a really great resource. So there are two dietitians that work together. They have a website, intuitiveeating.org, and they have some great books and publications that I highly encourage. I also had a wonderful intern over the summer who helped create our Nourish and Thrive mindful eating program. That is let's see, I think it's a 5 email series that you can get as soon as you sign up. You get the first one, and then that you get one every 3 days after that to really kind of help remind you about how to do this mindful eating thing. So you can sign up for that at cancerdietitian.com/mindful eating. And then I do have my next webinar on the schedule. It is on Friday, November 14th. It's going to be at 1 p.m. and we are doing heart healthy eating. So if you're interested in registering for that, I'll send the link out in a follow-up email as well. But that's cancerservicesonline.org/NOV, November 2025. And we'll talk a lot about different types of fats. So when we talk about mixing and matching different nutrients, healthy fats are important. So we'll talk about those and other heart healthy eating recommendations that I think a lot of people could benefit from being updated on. That is it. I don't see any questions that have come through the chat or the Q&A. So I am going to sign off. But if you do have any questions, you're watching the recording and you want to send me an email, you can always email me at julie@cancerdietitian.com. And I'm happy to answer questions if I know the answer or point you to the right direction. Thank you so much. Take care.